The fashion iceberg is not a new concept, but the information within it is constantly changing. If you don't know what the fashion iceberg is, it basically explains the stages of fashion everyone goes through. From the very top where people are just starting out, deep down to the bottom where things start to get weird, and everything in between. Today I want to talk about the 2026 fashion iceberg and the brands and pieces that people are probably wearing at each level within it. Keep in mind there's no right or wrong place to be on this, by the way. It's all good, but I'd love to know where you guys think you fit in. Let's get into it. Level 1. Okay, the tip of the iceberg is basically made up of people who have no idea about fashion or simply don't care. In most cases, it's probably the latter. These guys are total civilians when it comes to things like clothing materials, brands, design. They're the ones getting their clothes from the supermarket at the same time as they're doing their weekly shop. Or if they're feeling adventurous, they might buy from somewhere like Temu or Shein. Otherwise, they might be getting their clothes bought for them by their partner or parents. The most important thing for them is that it's cheap, it keeps them warm, and stops them from being totally naked. And let's be real, there's nothing wrong with that. This is probably the most blissful place to be on the fashion iceberg, completely unaware and totally don't care. But from here, it all goes downhill. Level 2. Okay, level 2 is really where people's fashion journey begins. You're starting to take an interest in how you look, and you know that clothing is part of the route to achieving it. But you're not quite sure how to convert that interest into an outfit. At this level, you're probably watching YouTube channels like Teaching Men's Fashion or Alpha M. Don't get me wrong, they do give out some decent advice, but it's often really generic and they're usually trying to sell you something. You might also start buying your clothes from high street stores like H&M or online stores like ASOS, relying heavily on the what's on trend section to guide you. And this is the level where people start to take a few risks as well. Maybe you're getting a fun patterned shirt that's a bit outside your comfort zone, or a colour that's brighter and louder than you'd normally pick. Everyone who you think is stylish today has gone through this phase. Honestly, it's a beautiful thing. Every new piece feels fun and different. Level 3. At level 3, you're well on your way to finding your personal style. This is where the majority of people probably are. You understand what you like, you're starting to develop your own taste and lean into a certain niche. So you'll see groups of friends with similar tastes and interests all hanging out together and wearing similar things. In 2026, that's probably something like being in the edgy crowd of baggy clothes or the minimalist crowd of wearing monochrome colours. Nothing too crazy, but there's a definite direction. The problem with this level is that you can be victim to the Dunning-Kruger effect. You might be at what's called the Mount Stupid point on the curve. You know a little bit about the style niche you like, which makes you feel like an expert. But because you know so little, you're very unaware of how much you actually don't know. So this can be a level where you make a lot of expensive purchase mistakes that you might regret in the future because you've convinced yourself that they're the right thing to buy, only to find out later down the line that you hate them. But again, we've all been through this, so there's no shame to it. Level 4. Level 4 is where things are really starting to take shape in your fashion journey. If you're at this level, all of your outfits probably have a very defined, formulaic shape. So you're locked into things like your proportions, you know all your measurements, you can tell just by looking at a photo online if something is going to fit you well. In 2026, you're probably starting to crop your own t-shirts to get that perfect fit. You're also starting to think seriously about materials and quality of construction. So you are genuinely caring if something's 100% cotton or not. You're realizing that heavy weight doesn't automatically equal quality. It's all about the fabric and how it actually drapes over your body. At this level, people are also starting to lean heavily into accessories. Watches, necklaces, rings, these are all things that are starting to show their value in your outfits, elevating the basic look into something more appealing. You're also starting to layer, which probably means you love Aimé Leon Dore lookbooks. I'd say this is the level where most online influencers exist. At this level, there's a lot of small nuances to learn and knowledge to pass on. Level 5. At level 5, you're actually pretty knowledgeable about fashion now. You love telling people about the Antwerp 6, even though they didn't ask, and you know loads of other random bits of fashion information that no one really cares about. At this level, you're well into your niche. Fast fashion is the absolute enemy now. You're actively avoiding it. You're turning your nose up at regular denim, it has to be selvage, and loop wheel cotton is your new go-to t-shirt fabric. Things need to be made in Japan, USA, or Italy, and leather leather must be full grain. Overall, you're starting to spend a lot of money for very small details that no one will ever probably notice. But you've convinced yourself that these pieces will last longer and you'll get overall value over the long term due to price per wear. Which is probably true, but the problem is you have so many pairs of Ironheart jeans at this point that you only get to wear each one about once or twice per year. Level 6. Okay, level 6 is a sharp tipping point in my opinion. At this point, people are so deep into the weeds and fully niched into a certain genre of clothing that their style starts to look kind of weird. They'll call it avant-garde, but the rest of us will look on totally clueless. And that's exactly how they like it, by the way. If they looked normal, they wouldn't be happy. You'll see wild brands like Carol Christian Powell with their £2,000 melting boots or opera arms. Or people will be wearing vintage archive pieces that only a handful of others will know or even care about. Actually, it's entirely possible that a lot of the brands people are wearing at this level will never be known because they're gatekeeping them hard. This level is all about that clique if you know type fashion. In fact, a lot of the time at this level, people have started their own little micro brands simply because they can't find the exact niche thing they're looking for. Just like at the bottom of the deep ocean, this is a weird and alien place for many of us. Best just to not get involved. Now you might thought level 6 is about as deep as you can get, but I believe there's one more level. Level 7. I reserve this for mainly old guys who have pretty much transcended the entire iceberg. Combination of pure life experience and not giving a damn about what anyone thinks of them has turned them into actual style gods. This is pure sprezzatura, effortless grace. Do they even know they look this good? In a way, they've almost gone full circle. They're more similar to level 1 than they are to level 6. They don't care, they wear whatever makes them comfortable, and they look incredible doing it. We should all aim for this. It's the final style goal, and no one can tell me otherwise. So there's the 2026 fashion iceberg from level 1 to level 7, in my opinion, of course. Where do you guys see yourself, and have I missed anything out? Do let us know down in the comments below. But anyway, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Ta-ra.